this part and the next two after it are going to be hard, I think, for me. I don't know. I haven't really got to talk about them at the level of detail that I'm about to talk about them, especially with how they affected me and how I reacted to it. This did, however, end in one of the worst possible ways, which was a complete mental breakdown. But I'll talk about that one later. So, before I jump into the 3 reasons I left the company, it's good to know that I've got a lot of patience. I take a lot of pride in having a lot of patience and using that patience to try to kind of figure out good paths forward and take, the thing that I like to say is like, there's no such thing as a crisis. It's just a thing you got to work through. And I take a lot of pride in being able to work through things. And for that, I don't necessarily get offended that easily. The only time that I do get offended is if something is intentionally malicious. Like it was not done like as a mistake or lack of understanding. It was purely done to hurt. And I still have to deal with this on a daily basis with an asshole on Twitter who loves doing this, who just, I still like pop in from time to time. I still have this, it still worries me that I have to deal with it. And yeah, there's one thing to ignore, but again, intentionally malicious for at this point, no other reason than just to be so. That sucks. That hurts. There's nothing fun about that. But there were 3 key things that made me want to leave the company. And the timeline for that was I made the decision. I'm going to recap this in the next one also. I sent an email on the 26th. I sent it the Sunday after TCG Player. TCG Player was March 24th. We got it. We were told like, hey, no more vetting. This is the process to get on. I loved it, but at the same time, I also knew there was no fucking way for it to happen. And in that exact moment, I was like, I need to leave. I need to go. That also sucks. My own Icarus paradox. The thing that was the shocker, I mentioned a while back in a previous part, I didn't realize that there was something crippling the company. I didn't know that there was something crippling the company, and what was crippling the company, and this is also the Icarus paradox. Part of the investor conversation is if you're going to go into acquisition land, you need to really understand what the cost of the acquisitions are going to be. One of those costs was a 6-figure personal debt that the company was staked on that I didn't know about. Until suddenly the investors were like at risk. I had no clue. Who the fuck knows that? I know that, but like, you see, you've got multiple print runs. You've got boxes sold from past print runs to the tune of probably about 5,000 boxes. There's starter kits that were being printed, that were printed and sold. And then there's a $300,000 Kickstarter, again, that probably got like knocked to like 200, 220 after like taxes and fees and all of that. I don't know where the fuck this thing came from. I don't know where it came from. But suddenly, as the investor conversations were beginning, and like I started to see as like, okay, we're not as cash positive as we thought. And like the questions were like, not sure how. 6 figures of debt that have just been there show up. Just been there. Thing to learn number 9. Plan and price your products so they can fund future products and not just pay for themselves. Now, I don't think that's what happened here. I've got my own kind of ideas, but I'm not going to go into that because that truly is like kind of a dick move speculation. I don't want to touch that. I really don't. That's even cruel that is intentionally malicious. But like, you've got all this product that was selling. It was selling up until J2 July 2nd edition print 2, J2P2 as we call it. Everything was sold. You would think that there would be profit enough to like run a company to like move forward, plus a Kickstarter. So like, I assume like print runs were like paid for already. So again, that's why it baffled me that Invasion was like up front. Like, what the fuck? How the fuck did that happen? So I'd think that you would plan and price in such a way that like you would get enough profit to be able to like kind of fund future endeavors, or at least be confident in being able to pay your fucking staff. And I don't know how long it went, but like they only had like 5-6 releases every, like one release a year. I can see that, but also they were minimal costs. issues would have shown up like earlier. So the debt discovery, and I learned, I asked very directly what the number was, and I got my number, which was between like 150,000, and apparently like others have gotten different numbers. So like we're at the point of just blatant lying. Let's fucking call it what it is. What the fuck? And that leads to the second reason I left, which is the WIFM problem. WIIFM. What's in it for me? For me. And if you're thinking, that seems selfish, fuck you. We're going to talk. The TCG player meeting was 9 months of a lot of back and forth, a lot of like promises, a lot of asking like the community every 3 months, hey, can you go send a bunch of things to show that there was in fact still interest? That was a lot of work. And then when we got it, and we got it after I knew number one, the debt discovery, and then the next one I'm going to share, I knew those things already. This is spaced here for a reason. I already knew those things. So we get TCG player, and the first thing on my mind, I got TCG player. What the hell am I doing this for? What was this all for? Like, if we were getting like this sales numbers, we were getting sales, like it was sales and partnerships and like these things, like we were working hard to try to make these things happen. And it was a lot of like communications with like people who were like, let's do a learn to play in open house, and like I'm going to ship things out to you, and like they're going to ship things out to you. I had no clue. I sacrificed pay. Not sacrificed. I delayed pay and delayed reimbursements under the impression that the forward progress that we were making in this company was going to go to an invasion print run. And it turns out none of that seemed to be true. And it seemed to be going to this debt that I didn't know fucking existed. That's infuriating. That's fucking infuriating. I had no goddamn clue it existed. Debt, I expected some level of debt. A little bit. Not mortgage payment level. And I learned that about February as well. And I just stopped caring. February, I put out a weekly awareness that said it's going to be very foundational. I'm going to work on a lot of foundational things. And that was true. I was working on a lot of foundational things. I said, you're not going to see a lot of community engagement. But also in February, I just stopped caring. I really didn't. I didn't know what success meant. And I didn't know what it was making up for. I didn't know if getting a $2,000, we get a $2,000 sale, a $3,000 sale, we get TCG player, and I use that as leverage to get like $20,000, $30,000 POs from like distro or something like that. I don't know if that's going to go towards invasion. I don't know if that's going to help people get paid, because I was just now learning that people weren't getting fucking paid. I don't know if that actually goes towards the print run. I don't know where it goes. And I'm now actually sacrificing income that does matter. And I don't know why I'm sacrificing it. Again, delaying it. I don't know what I'm doing it for. I didn't care. I stopped caring. And I don't hold that against myself. And I'm not going to hold that against myself. And the reason for that is number 3. The third thing. I told you I don't get offended unless it's something intentional. And I framed these the way that I did for a reason. So let's talk about the moral of the story. This whole story. The third reason I left was because I discovered how much I had been being abused by passion. There were a couple of conversations that happened, again, as a part of the investor track, that I can't even say were reasonable. I mentioned that we all had the opportunity to bring in our salaries and do job descriptions and share salaries. I also mentioned that those job descriptions were way the hell under market. You're under market. And again, I understood. I took it and I was like, I can see the line of play there of, you're not proven and, they're taking a risk with us. So maybe we spend a little bit of time on a lower salary. We prove ourselves and then we push, and then we in the first year, we negotiate forward after we've proven ourselves. I see that being a risk that both sides get to take. I see that. I saw that. So I was like, okay, I'll go a little under market. And remember, I'm at $1,500 a month on retainer still. That was the idea. It was let slip in a conversation that the undercutting of salary was not something that was inspired by the investor group. It was something that was inspired by us as a way to reduce the strain of the debt pickup that I just learned existed. Talk about abuse by passion. Abuse of generosity. Welcome to the ride. I wasn't expecting that the offer that the offer, I feel it was a generous offer to work but not get paid. Seems pretty generous. But I didn't know that, undercutting my own salary for something that didn't exist, that wasn't something I was a part of. That wasn't something I don't even know if the company was a part of. But to offset something that I had no clue that I was trying to resolve, but like salary was sacrificed for it. We were given up at cheaper value. It's fucking no. Just fucking no. Just no. That's intentionally malicious. I don't care what in the back of your dumb fuck mind is going on of like, this is going to be great for the company. That's intentionally malicious. Again, generosity, kindness, use and abuse are two-way streets. I have no problem using myself to try to help the company grow. I made decisions on my own, but abuse, knowing that I was doing what I was doing with very little intent, and also having that used against me later on of, we have an opportunity to get a full-time job from the things that we were doing well. How cool is that? And by the way, I'm going to sacrifice the salary that you've already been giving up. I'm going to sacrifice you so I can help this fucking mistake I made way the hell back here that I also didn't let you know you were fighting against. Words. This is also about the time that I learned that other people, I also learned people weren't getting paid. And I asked very directly in the debt pickup for this, in the debt pickup for that, hey, buddy, is back pay being included in this conversation? Because I'm not the only one who made this sacrifice. I'm not. Was back pay being included in the conversation of the debt pickup? No. It wasn't. Like, even if it gets acquired, even if millions of dollars of not like we were going to get millions of dollars, but like if this massive investment's going to show up, and it's not even trying to make up for like the things that we did make up for, no. I'm sorry, but no. I hired on Lucas to help me out with social media stuff, and I had him do a lot of, there are a couple months where I do a lot of things, but I also had him in March where I didn't care and I had nothing for him. He basically had zero things to do in March. I'm paying for him out of pocket. Now. I've got a kid due in 2 weeks. I've given up $10,000 to $12,000 of stuff that I was kind of expecting back, at least somewhat shortly, including reimbursements out of my actual bank account. For Toronto, and in reimbursements, and for paying for Lucas for 5 months, literally since the beginning of his contract. And he was on a $500 a month retainer, so it's not like a mind-blowing holy crap thing. It was a couple hours a week. It was a small easy retainer. It wasn't anything big. I had nothing to do for him, but I paid him yesterday. Paid him out of my own pocket yesterday with money I shouldn't have. I do. Like I said, I got a couple of contracts here and there, but I made sure to pay him because I was like, this might take a little bit because I'm trying to figure out my own finances. And at the end of this, like, I can't have this conversation and then not literally pay the guy, pay no matter what. Figure it out. And that leads to thing number 10. Thing number 10, and this is something that was also like kind of a notorious issue throughout the history of the company, and things that I learned when I came into the company in January 2022 of like, I would say things and do things thinking it would mean something, and then I would get hit with the core community of, you have no idea how little this means because of how much damage has already been done to the relationship with people. This little piece of information is the one goddamn takeaway. If you're going to take anything away from this hour-plus monstrosity that I'm creating, write this one down. And this applies to creators. It applies to fans. It applies to any level of excitement, interest, investment. If you're a business directly using labor to profit, no matter what it is, if it's like an offer, if you're a business directly using labor to profit, generosity needs to be temporary and with conditions. This is too far.